How's it going, everybody? So, I just got done watching episode 36 for the English dub of Dragon Ball Super, and I really enjoyed this episode. I do find, as we go episode by episode, from the beginning of this tournament up until now, each episode is better than the last, which is kind of with the course of Dragon Ball Super. Like, each episode, as you move along in the series, it slowly and slowly gets better. But the content we got in this episode, I really enjoyed, and I do find myself laughing a lot more as each episode goes by, and I do have to think that has to pertain to Beerus and Champa, and then the commentary from Whis and Vados. Like, they are just so sassy to these characters. Like, you have this immature brother rivalry in between Beerus and Champa, which I absolutely love and adore, and it makes me giggle every time they just act the way they do. But then you have the commentary from Whis and Vados throughout this entire episode to their gods of destruction, talking down to them, and they can just get away with it, and they're just looking at their angels like, what are you saying right now? Are you talking back to me? I absolutely love that dynamic throughout this entire tournament. The peanut gallery is strong right now in the Universe 6 tournament, but besides that, that is not the majority of what happens in this episode. What happens in this episode, we have the fight between Mageta and Vegeta, and we actually have the ending of the fight with Vegeta coming out on top, and now they're hyping up Vegeta about to go up against the Universe 6 Saiyan Cabba. So that's going to be a lot of fun and very interesting next episode. But let's go back to the beginning parts of this episode with Mageta up against Vegeta, because at the very beginning, having this new barrier and new rule being put in place for this match, it's putting Mageta at a big advantage over Vegeta, because with his ability to actually heat up the atmosphere with his lava, saliva, and just the way that he's kind of like a teapot in this ring, it's actually making the air very thin, and it's putting Vegeta at a great disadvantage up against Mageta. But of course, as we know with Vegeta, he's put himself through rigorous training, because when you go back to Dragon Ball Z, whenever you saw Vegeta training, he'd be training in 100 times gravity, 200 times gravity, up to 400 times gravity. Even at the beginning of Dragon Ball Super, we saw Vegeta training at 100 times gravity. So he puts himself in these like really terrible environments, basically impossible for mere mortals to actually survive in, and he trains in those environments. So this to him, it's hard for him, it's tough on his body, but he's able to push through. And of course, I love it when it gets to that point where he's basically like, everyone's looking down at me, I'm gonna be doing my best, and then he breaks out the Galick gun. I love that moment in here because we don't really get to see Vegeta use his signature moves all too often, because when it comes to Goku, he uses the Kamehameha all the time. But when you look back on Vegeta, the Galick gun and the Final Flash that also gets used in this episode, he really only uses it once. They're kind of like one and done moves in Dragon Ball Z. But I really do like that within Dragon Ball Super, they are using these moves. They are bringing them back because we know these moves. I've known these moves for a long time. Every time I play Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z video games, I love using the Galick gun. I love using the Final Flash. So getting to see both of those moves pop up in this episode was very, very enjoyable. But of course, we had like a classic beam struggle when Vegeta was doing the Galick gun against Mageta, but in this case, it was more beam and lava. But in this case, lava ended up winning out, and this actually gave Mageta a little bit of an advantage to where he caught Vegeta off guard, and then supposedly, as it kind of made it seem, by the middle of this episode, Mageta was able to push Vegeta out of bounds, and it seemed like Vegeta lost the match. But don't worry, guys, Vegeta is not out of the match yet, because our green friend, the announcer, ends up busting his way over to Vegeta, goes to inspect him, and notices that Vegeta actually landed on some rubble that got knocked off the ring by Mageta. So since that technically is still a part of the ring, Vegeta is still standing upon the ring itself, and therefore is not knocked out. He's still in the match. But it's at this moment that as soon as you see the dark eyes of Vegeta, you know he's pissed. He is honestly pissed at the fact that this creature, this robot organism that we can't even understand a word of throughout this entire episode, was able to do this to him. And as soon as Goku realizes how pissed Vegeta is, he's like, oh boy, I do not want to be on the receiving end of whatever Vegeta is about to do. And he does two awesome things after he, gets reinstated into the match. The first part is that he ends up releasing this giant ki explosion and ends up shattering the entire barrier around the ring. And I like this moment too because all the shards and shattered glass from this barrier, scatter to every corner of the stadium. And we have Whis, rush over to the Universe 7 spectators, protects them, but they also hype up Hit in this very moment because you notice that a shard goes directly for Hit, but he blocks it with 2 fingers. Like, honestly, right now, what they're doing for hyping up Hit is just so enjoyable to watch. And even watching Cabba, kind of fanboy over Vegeta during all this is really nice to see as well, because he's looking at these Universe 7 Saiyans like, wow, I did not think that other Saiyans from other universes would be this strong. And of course, we have the joke that is Monaka, not moving a muscle still, just kind of staring into the abyss, but he just has the shards all around him, and Goku and Piccolo are like, wow, this guy is really good. He didn't even move a muscle. I love those moments. So that is the first badass moment that Vegeta has. But then the second badass moment, you would think bringing back the Galick gun would be enough to satisfy Vegeta fans, but no. Not only do you bring back the Galick gun, you bring back the Final Flash. Honestly, if the Faulkner music score for the Final Flash started playing at that very moment, I would have just been getting up out of my seat and would have just been so hyped at that moment. It would have been so awesome to witness. But I loved getting just to see that move come back, him charging it up, getting to hear Chris Sabat, just scream his lungs off. Mageta, charging up, which appears to be like he's going Kaioken in this episode. We have another beam struggle between Lava and the Final Flash, but the Final Flash ends up coming up on top. He almost knocks Mageta out of the ring, comes very close to doing so, but then Vegeta, comes in after that move to go and punch Mageta out of the ring. And he ends up doing so, but it's not because of the punch that he delivered to Mageta. It's right when he delivered that punch that Mageta was blocking him that Vegeta ended up saying the line, "Get out of here, you pile of junk." And I find that very odd and very strange that just sunk down to Mageta's core, broke down his character, and he just was like, I can't fight anymore, and just kind of fell out of the ring. So he's got this hard exterior, but he's a soft guy on the inside. Words hurt his feelings. So that's Mageta in a nutshell. I find that to be very amusing for his character. But so Mageta ends up, falling out of the ring. You're watching that and you're just like, really? That's how Mageta ends up going out of the ring? Just harsh words ends up, destroying his character. But that's just classic Toriyama fashion. So Vegeta ends up winning the match. He goes back up to Beerus and Whis, who are just like, good job, Vegeta. Vegeta asks for water, and there's this weird sequence where you just see Vegeta guzzling down water, but the animation where he just basically looks like he just has his mouth open the whole time. It looked very weird the way Vegeta was actually drinking that water. But right now, we're hyping up the match between 2 Saiyans from different universes, Vegeta and Cabba. This next episode is going to be so much fun to watch. I cannot wait for that because there is going to be some awesome moments coming up between this little matchup of our 2 Universe 7 and 6 Saiyans. So I believe that's everything I really wanted to go over for this episode, but I just wanted to emphasize once again, the main thing that makes me laugh throughout this entire tournament so far is Beerus, Champa, Vados, and Whis. Those characters are my favorite in Dragon Ball Super right now. I love the dynamic. The sass from the angels of Whis and Vados are just honestly amazing. And also just the immaturity of Beerus and Champa. This entire episode and this entire arc so far has been astounding. I love those characters to death. Great additions to the world of Dragon Ball, and I am really looking forward to episode 37 coming out next weekend for the Dragon Ball Super English dub. So give me your guys' thoughts on this episode. What did you guys think? Did you like seeing the moves of Vegeta, the Galick gun, and the Final Flash make a return in this episode? How did you feel about how Mageta basically was defeated in this episode? And how hyped are you for Vegeta versus Cabba next week? So leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I love you all so much, and I really look forward to talking with you guys down in the comments below. So until next weekend, where we have episode 37 of the English dub for Dragon Ball Super, I'll talk with you guys then. See you later, guys.